Welcome to Mose Cyber Security Institute's YouTube channel. It's a pleasure to have you here. My name is Benjamin Mose and I'm the founder of the Institute. Today, I'd like to share with you 4 techniques that we've seen adversaries use against Australian customers to achieve persistence in the way that made it incredibly difficult for these organizations to deal with and to detect in the first place. Now, in a way, we're going to share what we consider to be advanced tradecraft, and so some people may consider that we shouldn't really talk about these things because otherwise attackers will do it even more. But the thing is, if we don't actually inform you of these things, then they probably are happening in your environment right now, and you don't really have a chance to even really investigate these kind of techniques as well. So let's get into it. The first persistent strategy that we see adversaries use again and again, and that seems to give them an unfair advantage against the organizations that they go against, is that they persist on what the organization believes to be a low-risk endpoint. Now, most organizations will do a risk assessment of their assets, and they'll say, you know, we have 7,000 machines on the network, but only this top 100 really matters to us. Now, the adversary, what they'll do is they'll go and persist on a machine that you do not think is important whatsoever. Why would they want to do this? Well, they do this because, number one, if they ever get detected, chances are the cleanup process will be delayed. So, you know, security professionals will look at this and go, you know, it's not an important item, it's not an important machine. You know, we don't need to deal with these alerts now because, you know what, we have other things that are more pressing to do. And so again, that gives the adversary more time to stay in the environment. Secondly, what happens is that if it's a low-risk asset, the defenders are most likely just going to format the machine and recover it and just move on. They will not do proper malware analysis. They may not even try to grab the malware samples on the machine, write a Yara rule, and hunt elsewhere on the network for it. They're just going to basically do a cleanup quickly. And as a result of this, the adversary is less at a risk of having defenders actually trying to defend against them. And so again, they now have an unfair advantage where they're able to stay in the environment for longer, they're able to come back more easily, and so on and so forth. The second technique that we see adversaries use that is really difficult for a lot of organizations to deal with is that they go and put their main persistence malware on UNIX devices or routers. And the reason why they do this is because there's often less visibility on those devices. You don't have an EDR or an AV deploy on your router. And so if they're able to compromise the device and put a backdoor there, then really the only way to catch them, you know, is to do really a thorough compromise assessment, which most organizations that have thousands of devices do not do, or to catch them at a network level. So you need a network signature to figure out that the device has been compromised. Thirdly, and you know, this is super simple, super brilliant, but super powerful, is that adversaries will just compromise user accounts. A lot of organizations do not clean up old user accounts, do not rotate credentials effectively. They have things like 20 domain administrators set up on the network. And really, the adversary does not even need the password. They just need to steal one NTLM hash for you know, a user account that has some level of privileges. And if that NTLM hash is never rotated, the password is never changed, then they'll be able to just come back again in the environment and just replay that hash and regain access to all the machines that they are interested in. And so, again, this is something that most Australian organizations that we see are just unable to deal with, right? They're not looking at all their machines to see, hey, how many local users do they have? How many local administrators do they have? Do we have accounts on the domain that should have been deprovisioned, and so on and so forth. And finally, the fourth thing that we've seen, and this is, absolutely crazy. In fact, I was really hesitant as including this in the video, but I just want to share the knowledge. And that is that we've once seen an adversary that installs a kernel driver to persist on an organization's most critical assets. And what they do is if you try to touch the driver, if you try to unload the driver, it blue screens the machine. And here's why they do this, is they find a machine that for business purposes can never be rebooted, for business purposes can never go down. And they put a level of persistence on it that if you try to touch the machine, they blue screen it. And so this is to try and force you into a position where you just have to live with the malware on their network. Now, the good thing with this is that if you do identify this and you're able to do some level of memory forensics, which in the case we've seen, we were able to dump the RAM of the machine and in that case, retrieve the malware. What you do is you write a network signature and you try to block them at a network level. But obviously, and I'm not going to share how, but there are ways that the adversary could make this incredibly harder or persist with techniques that are completely different, and a network signature may not even be an option. So these are 4 ways that we've seen in Australia, and they seem to work again and again. And organizations, despite the fact that they're spending in some cases 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures on cybersecurity, you know what, these 4 techniques seem to just win again and again. And so we hope that with the knowledge imparted in this video, you'll be able to take action and at least do some level of compromise assessment on your network to make sure that you're not affected by the techniques that we've just talked about. With that, we wish you all the best, and thank you again for being on our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. We're going to continue giving you a lot of awesome content. Goodbye.